When the autopsy came back to Eve Callahan, she thought it may have been a trick. Some sick joke they wanted to play on her. Being the female chief detective with a stiff upper lip never fared well with the team of self-righteous men that spent their days slouching and sighing rather than solve dire cases. Picking up the telephone, Eve chimed, "Hi there. I'm going to need to see the body of Simone Charms immediately, please. If you can arrange that for me as soon as possible, that would be great." There was a few moments of silence as she sat in her office alone, tapping her pen on the dark oak desk as the dim light shone through her window, casting lines of contrasting light and dark across the case file in front of her. "Yes, immediately. Today. Thank you," she said, far more sternly than intending, and hanging up the phone. Closing the case file, she got up from her desk and marched to the morgue, the high click of her heels on the light wood mocking the weight of the situation. She opened the door to the morgue and made her way over to the coroner. "Charms, please," she called out to the scrawny man in the white lab coat. He replied to her with nothing but silence and wide eyes, and said nothing as he marched down the hallway of silver crates that held all the lost souls. She couldn't help herself. "Is it true?" she spurt out. The coroner seemed to know exactly what she was referencing, but remained silent. "Well," she said, craving an answer, but once again he remained silent. "Well?" she persisted. She had no time to waste, yet the coroner still remained silent, opening the door to the room and bowing his head. She walked into the room, taking a mask and gloves from the countertop and a lab coat from the coat rack. This was not her job, nor her right, but this was not her first rodeo, and she had no spare daylight to burn. The coroner, not bothered by her gumption, nonchalantly made his way over to the examination table where Simone lay, a pale blanket draped over her, reducing her to a silhouette. Eve stood opposite him on the other side of the table. With a nod of her head, holding up her gloved hands, she signalled for the veil to be removed. The coroner reached out, holding onto the two corners of the sheet. He froze for a moment, looking up at Eve with tormented eyes. "Go," she insisted, nodding her head once again. The scrawny man sighed deeply for a moment, his pleading eyes struggling to leave Eve's face. It was a warning. With slight hesitation, he begrudgingly removed the sheet, revealing Simone's body. What she saw mortified her. There was nothing at all, nothing unusual, just a dead body, plain and simple, and to her, a dead body was the norm. But still, she was mortified. How dare they do this to her? How dare they waste her valuable time? "Would you like to see further?" asked the coroner, interrupting her thoughts. With a furrowed brow, she nodded and began to chew on her lower lip. The coroner removed the sheet further, revealing a large and slender laceration in the middle of Simone's stomach. "So?" snapped Eve. "It's just an ABI. Do you realize how many times I've seen something like this? What, you thought the killer would just gently put the girl to sleep or something? No, of course not. They're all thick and twisted. What are you wasting my time for? Get to it. Do you realize how many cases I've witnessed? How many tremendous and creative murders I've seen?" She let out a disgruntled moan. "The guys upstairs think that—" "Wait," the coroner said, interrupting her with a flat tone. So she did. She waited. She waited and watched as he added slight pressure to the stomach, using his forefinger and ring finger to press down near the wound, opening the gash slightly. Using his other two fingers, he inserted them into the wound. Eve watched closely as he began to fish something out. He proceeded to reveal something that resembled cotton wool. She began to edge closer to the body in bewilderment. Reels and reels of polyester stuffing were being pulled out of the girl's body. Eve let out a lengthy sigh and straightened up. So, it's true, he interrupted, still wielding out the polyester stuffing. And She trailed off, but he knew. He left the wool aside and made his way over to Simone's face, the white colour of the cotton wool, harshly bright and eerily clean in comparison to the grey tone of Simone's lifeless body. He gently placed his fingers on Simone's cheekbone and the other 2 fingers on her eyelid, prying them open with firm but gentle hands. Eve lowered herself level to the girl's face and watched closely as the man peeled back her eyelids to reveal circular black bead eyes. Eve straightened up once more, letting out a heavy sigh. "I need to see the evidence that was inside the body," she told the coroner. "But it hasn't been packaged yet. I don't care," she insisted. "I need to see the evidence." He hesitated for a moment, dread visible in his demeanour. Eve wondered what could have possibly disturbed a man that works with corpses all day so deeply. "It's in the secure dry locker," he said solemnly, leaving the room. She followed. For some reason, she felt stiff and agitated. The dread was catching. With a new set of gloves, the coroner opened the secure dry cabinet. With Eve changing her set of gloves too, he handed her the small square object. He looked unsettled and apprehensive, his breathing getting heavier as he watched her caress the evidence in her palms. "A sound box?" she said. He looked worried. "So there must be a recording, yes?" Her eyes lit up. "Yes, please be a confession," she exclaimed. Or if not a confession, we'll have his voice identity maybe. We'll be able to catch this psychopath in no time," she said excitedly. But the old man shook his head slowly. There was something uneasy about the look in his eyes. She stopped to stare at him. "Press the button," he said flatly. There was a large circular button on the right-hand side of the weighty sound box. She pressed it and listened. She froze. The coroner seemed to stop breathing for a moment before letting out a deep sigh. She looked up at him, wide-eyed. The recording made them both shudder, but she pressed it again. The voice emanated from the box and echoed around the cold room. The light, feminine, weepy voice, creating a heavy tension in the air as it spoke, saying, "Come play with us.